Indeed, some of us do not.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
So we are live. This is Expedition to Castle Ravenloft in the 13th Age, Session 2. We're still on the Ghosts of Aniel, and this time I'm going to ask you guys to summarize what has been going on. We'll go left to right on my screen as I see people, and that means that we're going to be starting with Bryant. You want to start with a summary as to what's been going on so far?
Well, basically, we got notice that the High Druid has moved in and increased their power in this elven area of woods, and has since the people in this village have disappeared. So we came in to investigate it and see what was going on and see if it was a power shift or something like that. We came in, found a disturbed grave that was recent, or not disturbed, but just recently dug. We found a whole bunch of marks from a big pig, and then we decided we're going to go up into the tree houses.
All
So
right.
we went up.
When you got up into the tree houses, John, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, there was that. I'm sorry, I forget the name of the specific gem. I believe it was an opal.
It was a dark opal, yes. It has a name, the Galdir, I believe.
I don't know if we knew that.
We do now.
Yeah.
But so yeah, there was the dark opal, which I'll leave unnamed, I guess. And we investigated it. We went out the door. I distracted the party by getting some spider web, and we were attacked by spiders. But I did get the web, so.
All right, so when you were attacked by spiders, there was a complication, a third party intervening, and you want to tell us about that, Pierce?
Sure. Our sorcerer Kenthis, played by John here, was taken over by a the wizard's apprentice who was taking care, who's I guess treehouse that we were in, and he tried to steal this black opal from us, but we were able to kick magical butt and get it back. And that was the third party. I guess he was the one commanding these weird ethereal spiders that we were fighting.
Yep. So, how much did I tell you about the opal, the Galdir?
I don't think we had a moment to investigate it until you told us the name just now.
It had the box with the image of the war on it between the elves, I think.
Right, between two factions of elves, one of them being the Drow, and I believe that, or Drow rather, and I believe that I had told you that this was a Drow artifact, or I hinted heavily because that was what the research materials were about on the wizard study, which, excuse me, John, you should know something about because you took some of the books for later reference.
Yes, I did. I forget what they were exactly about, but they're in my backpack, so.
I think it was about the Drow artifacts and Drow wars and things like that, if my notes are correct.
Yep, that is, and that doesn't mean that we can't make something up a little bit later if it's convenient and reasonable that it might have been among them. So, the party was split up. Half of you were outside of the house and half of you were in the house. And now that the spiders have retreated and you have driven off the ghost, you guys have a few minutes to collect yourselves. Now, after the session, I told you guys that you get to take a incremental increase. So one of the things 13th Age does for our viewers is that you don't have to wait until the GM says it's time to level up now. It really doesn't deal with experience points. So one of the options that you can do is anytime that there's at the end of a session when things have moved forward in some significant fashion, I can award an incremental increase where you get to choose one element of your character that would normally increase as you level up, and take on that one element right now. So it's kind of a gradual power increase as you go instead of leap and bound every time. So, Bryant, why don't you tell me what your character's picked up for your incremental increase?
I picked up an increase in the in one of my skills. It excuse me, carve a path, which previously it was on, I believe it's odd rolls. It's either odd or even. One of the flexible moves is to choose to do this attack, and it increases the my crit range by 1 until I get a crit. Then it resets. Every time I use it, it increases it by 1 until and then it resets. I took the champion path of that. I already had. Actually, no, there was no adventurer path. I took the champion path of that, which makes it a +2 every time. So my crit range increases by 2 every time I use that skill until I crit.
Wow. So that pretty much guarantees that you're going to be critting maybe twice per combat, depending on how long it drags on.
If I choose to use that attack, yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's pretty neat.
That's any natural odd hit or miss.
John, what did your guy get?
I took a magic ability incremental advance, so I chose the Elven Shadows spell, which allows me to deal some damage, and I forget what the criteria are, but I get to teleport, I think, if I roll an even number.
All right. That gives you a little flexibility and mobility, which is good because you're playing a magic user.
Yes, if the natural attack roll is even, then I can teleport to a location I can see that is
Awesome.
nearby. Don't worry, no mile-long.
Yeah, I'd hate for you to run away in the middle of combat. Yes.
You said, I like what these phase spiders are doing. I think I'm going to do it too.
That's useful. Pierce.
Well, I decided to be a stronger acolyte of the strength domain, so I ended up taking a champion tier strength domain feat. So before I was putting out the hurt once per battle for free, I could do 4d4 damage to target I hit in melee just once per battle. Now I can do for free an additional 48 with a melee attack once per battle.
Wow.
Brutal.
Yeah. So this is definitely harder hitting than the previous editions of D&D, that, so far as I can tell. But that's alright, because the monsters were hitting kind of harder than I expected too. So it might be a little swingy, but it looks like it might balance out too. Awesome. And you both, two of you guys mentioned that you had picked up champion feats to modify things that you already had. Normally those champion feats wouldn't be available till 5th level, but because you're allowed to pick a feat of 1 level higher and you're starting at 4th, that's what makes it stick. Awesome. All right. So combat is over. If you hadn't already in between sessions, if you had fewer than half your hit points, you must spend recoveries in order to raise your hit points at least above the halfway mark. Whenever you spend a recovery, you get to roll your hit dice times your level. So your hit die is based on your class. If you've done that already, or if you're above half and you just choose to roll a little bit more to try and get a little bit higher, you can take care of all that now. Otherwise, why don't you guys tell me what you do in the aftermath of the battle?
I'm going to go ahead and spend a recovery, I think. I'm pretty close to half, but a little bit above it.
All right. What are you rolling for a hit die?
My recovery roll is 48 plus 2.
How many hit points do I have?
Alright, I am fully healed.
I have 62 of my 72 hit points, so I think I'm okay for now.
I'm at full, so.
Yeah, you're at full because you were attacking me.
Yeah, healed me up.
All right.
So I'm going to rejoin these guys in either in the house or right outside the house. I'm going to, make my way around and kind of say, yeah, what happened to you guys? You got caught in the house. How come you didn't join me in?
This guy was attacking me. This guy got possessed by a ghost.
Ghost?
Yeah, a ghost.
It was entirely unintentional.
Listen, I'm a priest. I wouldn't lie to you about this.
All right. If you guys say there's a ghost, then I guess I'll have to believe you for now.
I turned it. It's not here anymore, I promise.
He tried to take the opal, and I inform you of that.
Okay.
Still
So he seemed to... Yeah, I know those spiders were trying to take stuff from me and Vazil. They tried to take my hammer, or tried to take my shield, but kind of cracked them a few, and they dropped it. And I guess when you guys defeated the ghost, the spiders must have run out. Either that, we were just beating them so bad they decided we weren't worth the bother.
Yep.
All right. So you've survived the attack, and you guys have a pretty decent idea of what's been going on. How are you going to follow up on that information? Is there anything additional that you want to check out while you're here? What are you doing at this point? You spoke, John. You got to finish it.
I feel like we still have no real idea of where the villagers actually went. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but
right now I think we have the three leads of the grave, the pig, and the pearl.
I'd still like to check out the grave.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
All right. And this was your originally your idea, so it's not a problem getting down from the main platform area where, as we recall, the wizard's home was almost mini mansion-like and set above the elevated village. So as you come down through the steps from the main door, you land in what is probably their open market or their open speaking area in this elevated Ewok-style village. And then from there, you can find an edge and a way down that'll bring you back down to the floor of the forest. At this point, it's starting to get on into late afternoon, and the sun, which is normally obscured at all times of the day by the canopy of the forest, is now starting to get low enough that it's getting dark in the forest well in advance of what would be the evening hours of the day. So you're not going to have the light for much more than a couple of hours, and then things are going to start getting dark well ahead of schedule of what you would consider your full day. And you're used to this by now because you've been patrolling around the forest for at least a month or so on the Emperor's business. It's not a problem to using the ruined gardens as markers to find this gravesite again. And when you get there, how do you want to approach this?
Well, it's your idea.
Cautiously. Well, we're gonna have to dig it up. So I don't know if caution is actually going to be that helpful to us. We're going to be making noise no matter what.
Oh, I thought it was empty. Is it?
It's recently dug, correct?
Yes. My recollection is that I told you that it was a recent grave, that someone had been buried there, and I believe that someone had done a search of the area, and there was a question as to funerary rites and recognizing certain things, and it was a natural burial, probably nothing to preserve the body, elves returned into the earth, that sort of thing.
Okay. But from what we can just tell from just having glanced at it and passing before, it doesn't look like the grave's been, I guess, tampered with or anything's been dug up. It still looks like a body's been buried, there's still a mound on the earth and everything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, then I'd suggest that we approach weapons drawn, since we've already dealt with spiders. We know that there's potentially a giant hog in the area, and I mean, we're going to be making noise one way or the other if we dig this up, but just caution with weapon and spell.
Are there any footprints from the giant pig around the grave, or just near it?
No, there are not. You don't see any sign that it's been in this particular space. It's been sticking apparently mostly to the gardens that have been penned up underneath the villagers' homes.
Well, does anyone have a shovel? I mean, I don't know what we should. Are we? I know we're dealing with like a priest here, so I don't know what your thoughts are on disturbing the dead.
I think finding out what happened to the people in this village are a little bit more important right now. So
specifically, he's an inquisitor priest. So
I'm not pious in the traditional sense.
All right.
All right. Well, first I'd like to remind you that the ghost of the wizard's apprentice had died quite obviously from sword and knife wounds. He was the victim of violence.
Okay.
But yeah, that probably isn't a surprise, being that he was a ghost and all. But just bringing it back up as you're about to dig up a grave.
It's very likely the apprentice's body. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Digging up the grave really isn't an action of any consequence to the rules, and being that this was a freshly dug grave, if you don't have tools, well, first, they're fairly easy to find. I mean, you're in an abandoned village, then they obviously do gardening, so finding spades is just a matter of time. But the earth is still loose enough. The weather hasn't compacted the dirt enough to make this chore. You don't have to dig very far, just maybe 4 feet or so, before you strike something that doesn't feel like dirt. And when you pull the spade out, you see a little bit of a reddish stain on the end.
Ooh.
I think we found the body. Okay.
Do we want to haul it out of there, or?
So there's no coffin, is there?
No. Elves returning to the earth, funerary rites.
I got dibs on grabbing the feet. Not like detaching them, like to haul it out.
All right, buddy, whatever.
I like that the sorcerer has to clarify that, because you don't know.
Considering you pillaged everything in that house that you were just in.
I look at Ember, I'm like, he wants spider webs, he wants the elves' feet. I don't know what he's planning.
These wizards and their spells, they need all sorts of stuff for him.
It's clearly demonic heresy, am I right?
Yeah. Sounds like that to me.
I grab the feet and gesture for one of you two to grab the arms.
Alright. I'll grab the arms and help give you a tug.
Alright. I guess we haul them out.
So you sink your hands into the soft earth that surrounds the body, and with just a few moments of positioning, you manage to grab hold to the parts that you think that you're grabbing hold of, and you haul this elven body out from underneath the dirt. And it's obvious that this guy was old. And not only that, but he held some rank of importance. He's wearing very fine clothes. You have metallic threads woven in arcane designs, and it's very high quality craftsmanship. The clothes that they dressed him in were obviously his finest. And already, though, you can smell the decay working at the body. The body itself has taken on a dark and swollen aspect to it, to where things are mushy and sloughing off. And your grip is not too solid, and the clothes on the top, as your fingers sink in for the grip, you can smell and see the oozing pus and fluids from from the corpse coming through, whereas the bottom of him is already soaked because they're starting to drain out the body underneath. This is a mess that you're carting out, and you're probably just lucky enough that you got here soon enough that it isn't falling apart, tender meat off the bone style.
So I have for one of my backgrounds that I'm a trained medic. About how long do I think
Can we
this guy's
save
been
him?
dead for? Just with my knowledge of medicine and healing and.
Okay, so we know how backgrounds work in the sense that they're suggesting some sort of history that collects skills together in that umbrella. So since you're only telling me that it says trained medic at the moment, I'd like you to, before we get to the skill check, to the meat of the situation,
Okay.
I want you to tell me something about that medic background so we can flesh it out a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe where you trained, maybe a time that you worked on a corpse before, that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, how I had kind of imagined it for Heinrich, since he's an inquisitor and all, is another one of my backgrounds is inquisitor/spy. So kind of that he tortures people to the brink of death and then brings them back with healing. I've said that he's a heretic and he's kind of zealous before, and so that's kind of how I imagined his healing, is that he's seen a lot of people near death and close to death and brings them back. So that's kind of how I imagine his
It takes a lot
knowledge
of
of
skill
healing.
to bring them that close.
I can't.
It's actually his background that has the most ranks in it. So the interrogator aspect.
Awesome.
I can't believe I
So
would see you as a moral compass. I thought you were like better.
No. If you're looking for the Inquisitor for a moral compass, you're looking in the wrong direction. Hello?
Can no one else hear him?
I can't hear
no,
him at
I
all.
had muted
Okay.
because I was coughing. I'm at the tail end
Okay.
of being sick here.
Okay.
So, as this corpse is in an advanced stage of decomposition or middling stage, you might actually know the difference. I'm going to make this a hard check. So you roll a
Okay.
d20, you add 4 for your level, plus the number of points you put in your background.
Okay.
Hey, can I assist with my survivalist skill? Somewhat related. I mean, I don't know.
How would you have the experience to help with this through your survival
I
background?
would associate that with tracking, being able to tell how long something has been exposed to the elements, but maybe once it's under the dirt, it's unrelated, so I'll let him make the check independently.
Yeah, I don't think that's a strong enough connection here.
I got a natural 11, so +2 +4, so 17 total.
All right, so you just miss it. But what you can tell, despite that performance, is that he definitely died of violence. As you part the clothing, you see that underneath the body bears evidence of wounds. But beyond that, beyond the likelihood that he died of violence, you really can't tell anything about it.
And he doesn't look like the apprentice. And the apprentice was young, right?
Yes, the apprentice was young, and this is definitely an old elf.
Do you guys think that maybe it's Revan, the wizard, whose office we were in earlier?
Maybe. I mean, he was
Probably.
obviously important because he had a big friggin' R on his door. So
Right, and this is a pretty fancy looking robe.
I bet the R stood for robe.
All right.
we don't know that for sure, but it's a decent name. It's plausible enough guess.
Is there any light left, or are we in almost complete darkness at this point?
No, it's not quite that long, but you certainly don't have more than, let's say, an hour to play around down here looking at stuff.
Alright. Before it gets really dark, I would like to run over, because I was faded into the background when we found the pig tracks previously. So if I could use my survivalist skill on those, see if I recognize anything about them.
Alright, so the way that I set things up at the time was that when we've got kind of like an Ewok village situation here where the elf village decided that the best way to live in harmony with the forest and to protect themselves from the things that were most likely to affect their village was to elevate their village. So it's not more than I think 40 feet up off the ground, but you have homes that are built around tree trunks, and then the platforms extend out from those homes, often joining, if not by rope bridge, then physically joining to create larger spaces, like the one below Revan's house. So beneath those homes, and a lot of them have ladder or staircase access to the ground, they built gardens. Now, some of these are vegetable gardens, some of these are flower gardens, maybe a mix of each, but they had cultivated spaces surrounding the bottom of the trees, and this was where they gained some of their sustenance and so on. So, in order to protect these gardens from the forest animals, and also to keep wildlife from just cavalierly coming up these staircases, a lot of them were inside of fences, and a lot of these fences have been knocked down, and the gardens raided by something large enough to wallow around and turn some of those gardens into large mud holes. Or at least they would have been mud holes the last time that there was a big rain. And beforehand, there was a check where people clearly identified pig or boar's hooves, and that's where they got the idea that there's this massive pig running around.
Okay.
Alright, so do you still want to pursue that and take that further to see if there's anything more that you can find out about this?
If anyone has something more pressing, and that would pretty much be anything at this point, then I'll let it be. But if there's nothing else, I'll take a look at it.
What were our leads again? It was the grave, the pig, and what else?
The
The
opal.
pearl.
I'm sorry, the what?
The pearl.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's of some significance if the ghost wanted it so bad. I don't know if we could use it or somehow. I don't know if we would want to use it or what. But, yeah, it's something that we found, I guess, is the way I put it.
It reeks of heresy.
Obviously, if a ghost wants it.
Yeah, clearly.
Heresy.
I feel like I'm playing Warhammer or something.
Alright, so you do have those three different things that you can pursue. Of course, now that you've dug up the grave, you do have the corpse of a well-respected, if dead, elf.
Yeah, now we got a corpse. What are we gonna do with it?
I'm gonna
Take it into the grave, push some
I'm
dirt
gonna
on it.
recommend we rebury it.
I'm gonna agree with our sorcerer on this one.
Alright. Reburying the wizard is, again, a relatively simple task, but it's going to take up the last of whatever daylight that you have. At this point, once the corpse is repatriated, or however one inhumed, I don't know. It's once you've buried the corpse of Revan again, you really don't have much choice of places to go for the evening. You can stay down here on the forest floor, or you can go up to the abandoned village where you don't know why people disappeared from there.
I always wanted a treehouse, so
A haunted treehouse?
even better.
I think taking our chances in the treehouse is probably smarter than sleeping on the forest floor.
Yeah. We should probably
All
alternate
right.
watches as well.
Well, that's definitely always an option. When you go back up to the village level, I guess the question at this point is, where do you want to stay? I mean, you've got numerous homes, you've got the wide open areas in between some of them, and of course you have Revan's house, which you're at least familiar with the layout.
I vote Revan's because it's nice and we know the layout.
Yeah. Seeing that I was a bodyguard, going to some place that you know all the exits, theoretically, know the inside and out. That's probably our best bet, and just batten down all the hatches.
And it's opulent, so feather beds. I'm just saying.
Well, at least one feather bed. I think the assistant was sleeping in, a haystack or some papers or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, going into Revan's home, you know that you have at least the one really nice bedroom, and you also have the study. There's still a stock larder and kitchen. Some things have spoiled, but only the things that were the most vulnerable to that sort. Most of the food is preserved, and the preserved food is just fine. So you have everything that you need to spend the evening here in comfort. The door still locks. It wasn't ripped off its hinge. The windows still close. So securing the place, if that's your wish, is not so difficult a task either. I guess since you're spending the night here, is there anything that you want to do, any way that you want to spend your evening in here? You've got a long time now that it's fallen dark. It's still not sunset if you were outside of the forest exactly, but so you have a longer period of time than normal that in addition to your full 8 hours of rest under other systems that aren't this one, you could still do other things if you wanted to take advantage of that.
Maybe we should read through those Drow history books, find out about this black opal. I'll take a crack at it, all three of us.
All right. And in the meantime, just on the back burner, I'd like to take. There's branches around these houses, right? Like I can snap one off.
Well, most of the low branches that would interfere with the villager space have been clipped a long time ago. In fact, there's so little direct sunlight that gets down here that most of the tree's energy has gone to much higher branches near the top of the canopy, where they have a much greater chance of catching sunlight.
Are there any doorstops in the wizard's house?
Absolutely.
Like a block of wood. I'll take one of the doorstops, and I would like to begin carving something that somewhat resembles the wizard that we dug up, using my magic knife.
That's right. You had carving knives.
Yes.
That was one of the nice touches on your wizard. Awesome. Or sorcerer, I should say. Yeah, you could do that. It's going to take you a while to carve something like that, no matter how experienced you are. So what we'll do is, if it becomes relevant later on that you need a finished piece, we'll make a check at that time to see what it's like. Sounds like a plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could, if possible, since I'm assuming we're going to be leaving this place in the morning, if I make it particularly crude intentionally, can I have it done by morning?
Yeah, you can block out the general shape and the features of it by morning, but it's pretty much going to be taking up most of your time and attention to do that.
Including the time that I have on watch?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, well, I guess what I'm getting at is that if you're trying to get that much done by the morning, you're probably not going to be hitting the books with everybody else.
All right, I'm okay with that. I let them have a side project.
Thanks.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to get zapped by something again, like he did with the with the box and in the bookcase and.
All right. So you guys are going to hit the books and trying to see if you can find out more about this dark opal that I called the Galadir. So right. I'm going to need to know who of you is going to lead the check.
It should probably be you.
Well, I have a background, and one of my backgrounds is studied the gods and myth, and another one of my backgrounds is historian. Both I only have 1 point in.
All right, but at least the historian is in the right ballpark because these books were equal parts magical texts and history texts to try and give context to what the items might be beyond their magical properties. So I guess the question is, does Heinrich, is it, have any background that might be able to contribute on the same terms?
I'm
Me,
Heinrich.
Ember?
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, Ember.
No, I can look through for because both my parents were Diabolist cultists. I can look for any signs of anything I would recognize as like occult ritual, summoning rituals. That, and granted, they might be completely different for whatever whatever was happening at the time, but I might be able to look at what if there was any sort of cultish things in there that I might recognize.
Well, I would have to say that because these are two very different skill sets being applied, that these would be two separate checks. So,
Yeah, I don't know anything about history or books in general, so.
yeah, I don't know anything about books, but I'd be more than happy to flip through and help you out here. All right, so, nope, this is fine. So, what we'll do is we'll start with. Oh,
This is what your children do.
hold on a second. Is it all right?
I don't think so. I think it's dead.
Yeah, I think so too. Our cats killed a snake inside the house.
Would you like to see?
Well, this is going out to the internet, huh? Thanks. There's a reason why our cats are named Sam and Dean. They are indeed mighty hunters. Not that we knew that when we got them, but they just happened to live up to the name. The Winchester Boys. You'll never know what you get when you tune into this game. All right. So, yes, we'll start with the history check because that's the more promising of the two, and then we can follow up with the cultist angle, and that means Heinrich gets to make his roll for history.
All right. So D20 plus background points plus level, correct?
That is correct.
All right. I got a natural 15 plus 5, so 20.
All right, excellent. So definitely you find an image of this. You find an image of this dark opal, and you find the name, which I've already let slip, the Galadir. And I believe what I'll do, yes, I put it in the chat section on the side so you can see what the spelling of that is if you want to take notes. And you find out the general properties of the thing. So it's said that nothing can remain hidden if you're looking through it. That it can be used as a lens of sorts to perceive the unseen.
I immediately toss you the opal so you can experiment with that.
And then the other thing that you notice, aside from the typo that I'm fixing right now, now you don't notice it at all. Ha ha ha. All right. So the other thing that you notice is that it's supposed to have additional abilities, but they draw upon the user's life force to power them.
That sounds scary.
And then also the risks. The people who have wielded the Galadir in the past have been noted to avoid sunlight and have a particularly cowardly bent in that they avoid straight-up fights, preferring to attack or act from the side or from the shadows. And some of them seem to have retreated from this reality, never to return.
Have they ever referred to the stone as their precious?
No.
Okay.
No mention of that you can find.
Alright.
Certainly dark magic.
Sounds like it.
What you cannot find, what is so obviously missing from this, is the command word to activate it. Text dump in the side. But I can send that out in email later if you need it. So I'll give you a second to read through that real quick, because that does tell you what the additional powers are.
Wow.
And knowing that, do we think that the assistant was definitely a dead ghost and not just someone who had retreated to the ethereal realm?
Well, I'll say that it was obvious that he died of violence. He had cuts. His clothes were covered in blood from those cuts.
Okay.
Some of them were.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Does it look like? Did it look like he was? Yeah, then you answer that. Did he look like he was wounded and killed rather than just somebody who was hiding out in the ethereal realm? Because it sounds like he was using this thing a lot for whatever purposes.
Well, I'm going to just give it to you and say that he was a ghost. This wasn't an appearance thing. So he's straight up dead and still trying to go after the thing that he died trying to attain.
Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering. So he was trying to attain it, and Big R had it, but we're not sure how much he used it.
That's true. You don't know if Revan had been using it, but it said that he retreated here to continue studies now that he's kind of retired from adventuring life, and it seems obvious from the materials that were laid out that he was researching this stone, and it's the only thing that reeks of, hey, this is valuable, and this is why I locked it in with my magical components.
And
And
apparently,
the box.
sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The
No, go ahead.
Were I don't know if you said it out loud, but they're in there. You can summon spiders with the stone. So the apprentice probably used it. Probably. Or someone did.
Well, the apprentice would probably have access to the same materials that Revan did, so if Revan was researching this, it's possible that his apprentice was assisting him.
Right. So we know it's been used.
Heinrich gets very stern upon reading all of this.
Yes. One of the disadvantages to running a game like this is that, now, on the one token, it's great because people can interact in the group chat on the side when other things are going on, and it's not as disruptive to game playing as I'm being right now by talking about it. But on the other hand, you guys can't see it out there in the internet world. So one of the things Heinrich said is that this is definitely heresy so far as he's concerned, because it's all about shadows and the dark and avoiding the sun, and he's a sun cleric, so this is like, what?
Yeah, that's definitely not good. I mean, anything that draws on life, I mean, yeah, that kind of plucks some
Yeah,
strings in my background too. So.
Ember can't be on board with that either.
No. I almost got killed in the ritual, so yeah.
Can I like taunt him with it a little? Like just sort of move it a little closer to your face every time?
Hey, you already said you gave it back to us, man. You said you tossed it over to Heinrich.
Before you do that, he does have a 19 strength, so...
Hey, I've got a 19 strength too. Do you want to hold him down and like give him a noogie or something?
Actually, no, you're stronger than me. I only have an 18 strength, so...
Oh, well. Hey.
There you go, it's settled. So it takes you a couple of hours. I mean, even with that good check, these are texts that they're written in Elvish, a lot of them, and it takes time to go through and what does this phrase mean, and get the information that you get out of it. So at this time, it's pretty late at night, and you still need to sleep. So is there anything special that you want to do in arrangement for that, or do you just want to move ahead to the morning?
I'll take first watch. Finish my sculpture thingy.
Yeah, you have some whittling to do,
Yep.
whittling away the hours.
I'll take second and let Heinrich sleep because he was doing the most studying.
Okay.
Books
And
are hard.
And I will start an early morning prayer for all of us to bless our souls in this dark gem. The third watch.
All right. So, let's see, because my reference for names is down here. All right. So Ember and Heinrich go to sleep, and Kenthis takes first watch. And who has the gem?
I think Heinrich has it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had it last.
Wait a minute. Does the book say that wielding it, as in using its abilities, gives you its quirk, or will just continued exposure to it
All
give
right.
you its quirk?
So here's the thing. Magical items, if you recall, maybe in 4th edition or 3rd edition, they use the term chakras or something where magical items take a slot, right? So you can only have so many rings, you can only have so many hats, so to speak. And something similar happens here with 13th Age. Magical items kind of share a piece of you, which is why their personality quirks become your quirks if you have too many of them. So in this case, since Heinrich is the one that's possessing it and handling it, it kind of attunes itself to him to allow him to use it, but opening up that slot is not quite as quick as just dropping it. Or at least I'm saying it's not. It's going to take at least one actual day in game time for that slot to open up. So he now has 3 true magical items. He has the 2 items that he created his character with, plus the Dark Opal. And once the Dark Opal is out of his possession for a day, or somebody else actively starts using it, then it'll change possession and it'll free up that slot on him. Make sense?
Yes, but will the quirk affect him only if he actually uses the power? Or does it just...
Technically speaking, the quirk is optional until he has more items than he has his level. So if Pierce wants to roleplay that quirk to comical effect or serious effect or any effect at all, that's entirely up to him. I encourage it because I find it highly entertaining. But ultimately, until he hits that limit, it's his choice.
Okay.
And so it may be that we find through gameplay that it has more effect on certain people than others simply because the players choose to play it that way.
So are you just going to hold on to that opal and, like, consider it a test by your gods?
Well, it'd be heresy to give it to a magic user like you.
At least then we know it's in safe hands.
Hey, listen, we already know that you have a weak mind and a weak soul. You got taken over by a ghost.
That's true.
All right. Well, the 2 of you retreat to the bedroom, where the bed is certainly big enough. Get your mind out of the gutters.
Come on, Ember.
So you retreat to the bedroom. It's a treat to actually sleep in a bed this fine, being that you've been traveling and sleeping rough in the woods or in barns or whatever kind of rough accommodations that people can spare for you when you go from village to village taking the census. So this is a rare opportunity that you jump right on. I mean, dead man's bed, pff, I don't care. This thing is stuffed with feathers. So it's a very busy day, and combat takes the wind out of you, so falling asleep, no problem. But pretty much as soon as you fall asleep, Heinrich, the dreams start. And you dream that this room is full of people. And the people call out to you for your help, saying that they're not dead, that we're still here. Save us. And they tell you about the terrible fight between Revan and his apprentice, and how the town guard went to assist, and they cut down the apprentice, but not until after he killed his master. And about and how the day after they buried Revan, they woke up in the town, but found that nothing around, that they couldn't affect the world around them, and likewise the world around them couldn't perceive them. And they've been stuck in this horrible state ever since. They can't tell the passage of time. They have no idea how long they've been there. They're just stuck in this horrible limbo. And then you get woken up for your shift.
Guys, I had the weirdest dream. I assume it's Ember waking me up because Kenthis is asleep.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll tell Ember about this. They're like, hey, so I think the elves are still here. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I think I've said a lot of crazy things lately, and the spider thing came true. So
True.
And the ghost thing came true, so let's just keep that in mind. But I think it has something to do with this gem. Yeah, I'll tell him about the ghost people and the ghost world and how they're still here, sort of.
Do you think Revan somehow perverted the stone to cast something on the whole town? Well, I don't know how you pervert something so dark, but...
I'm not sure. Maybe I just had a crazy idea. Maybe if I look through it to see... No, you know, I remember reading that nothing can remain hidden if I look through this gem. Oh, using this dark magic for my purposes is important.
Well, it is probably close to morning now, and the sun will be coming up, and you can use that to strengthen yourself.
I will actually look through the gym after I tell Ember about it to see if I can see people.
All right. When you look through the gem, an elvish word kind of floats up before your eyes. This is going to be the command word that allows you to use the gem. What is it?
Oh, I get to decide what the command word is?
Yeah, because I have no idea.
You're half elf, aren't you?
No, I'm human.
Oh, okay. I thought you were half elf.
You guys want to help me out on the command word?
We could do well, I can't think of it. I just put the first rhyme in.
I can't say that every time. Ash Nezek Derbatuluk? Yeah, I'm not saying that
That's
every
the One Ring rhyme. It's very similar.
Bryant, you got anything?
Something about shadows. That's the only thing that comes to my mind.
Oh, well, what if we just make it the name of the gem? Maybe that's too obvious. I don't know.
Shadow sight? I don't know.
How about Riddalog? Because that's Galadir backwards.
There you go.
All right.
No, you're still muted, Steven. You're still muted.
I'm sorry. I was coughing again. So, yeah, you speak the name of the gem backwards. I think that's what you settled on. And you immediately see through the gem. It brightens up just a second in the middle, and then it becomes like this dark frame where you can see the world around you, and the villagers appear, and while you can't hear them, you can see them still desperate and pleading and trying to get your attention.
Oh, I look at Ember. They're there, man. I just saw them. I swear.
Why didn't they help us with those damn spiders?
They're in a different world, Ember.
No,
Where do you think the spiders went to?
They can't.
I believe you.
Ember, they can't interact. You.
I believe you, though. I would tend to trust you on something not to be so light about such a subject as.
I don't joke, Ember. Ever.
Yeah, certainly not about shadow beings.
I don't joke about heresy.
All right. So this is going to touch on another aspect of the 13th Age rules that I wanted to cover for the moment, which is rituals. So what happens is rituals are kind of a free-form thing where you could take a spell or a magical effect as the root, and you could say, I want to do this. I want to extend that to do something different but related. So in this case, and I'm just going to say this outright so that as an example, because one of the properties of the gem not only allows you to see hidden things like this, but can, under the right circumstances, actually allow you to travel between the ethereal realm and here. It's possible that, the way I frame this in my head, Revan's apprentice died while holding the stone and trying to use its power as he was trying to use it to protect himself after he stole it. So his death curse, if you're a Harry Dresden fan, was the ritual that used the power of this gem to drag the entire village into the afterlife with him. In a way, in a manner of speaking. It's like, you'll all join me soon, you know. You killed me! Damn you! Damn you to the same hell I'm going to! And the gem made that happen, powered by his very life force as he died. So, conceivably, and Kenthis could grasp this being a magic user, clerics are very much big on ritual, and of course, Ember being the subject of ritual and growing up around it all of his life, all of you would understand the basics of how this would work. And eventually you would piece it together.
So are we at morning now, like everyone's awake?
Yeah, we could fast forward to that point. That's not a problem. Nothing of consequence was going to happen in the evening aside from hearing that pig move around.
Hey, Kenthis, so got some information to catch you up on.
Alright.
I'll tell him about the dreams, looking through the gym, seeing the elves and the ethereal plane.
Alright then. I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should see... My first thought would be maybe we should leave the house, just because our sight line is kind of limited there. Like, if we were to go either to the marketplace or the forest floor, we might be able to see more villagers or something more interesting.
And
We
we don't know that we've killed the ghost. We think we've killed the ghost, but in case he's still hanging around, he's probably hanging around here somewhere.
Well, I did turn him, so at the very least he's...
Oh.
Yeah, I turned the ghost. So at the very least he's discouraged from bothering us for at least a brief while.
Well, that's good.
I do have a kind of a meta question for old Ember. What does Ember roll for recoveries out of curiosity?
Let me get that up here. 40, 10 plus 4.
Okay.
Can we fluff that as, like, do you have a history of heart conditions? Like, what's your blood type?
Well, I was trying to figure out how to ask it because one of the abilities of the gem is that temporarily reducing the number of die you roll for recovery.
Right.
If we, unfortunately, we're not level 5, so we're not. I don't think any of us can roll 5, and I didn't know if you could roll 5 because you were a fighter or not to open the gate to the elves to potentially let them out of the living hell that they're currently in. But okay.
Yeah, no, I can't.
All right.
All right, but therein lays the seed for a ritual, perhaps. Maybe you can't bridge that gap by using the gem straight up in a way where you can open a portal and let just everybody walk out. But if you were to construct a ritual that would allow you to extend that ability to do something that maybe is not strictly defined as something that the gem can do, then it's possible you could make up that difference.
Okay, I have an idea. My character is specifically tied in with ley lines, and those can aid in connecting worlds as well in my backstory. You know, of course, this has to be Dungeon Master approved, but I'm thinking, what if we were to stand on a ley line? This is going to sound crazy again, with the rock, and I don't know where the my character would probably know, but and somehow use these ley lines to create a sort of link so we don't one person have to give up 5 hit dice, but we can combine our hit dice.
So, like, use
Split the cost.
Galadir to split the cost of, and the ley lines to split the cost of spent recovery dice.
Yes, that was, yeah.
So essentially, you'd be sharing your life force, and not one person is paying the entire toll.
Right.
All right. Well, that's something that would certainly work. That's something that might be simpler than one person leading a ritual that would do all the heavy lifting. You know, it's all context. So how are you trying to get around the limit? Well, this is how I can get around it. So that's good. So, but how does a ley line tie into you sharing your life force together? Is it a special property of a particular ley line that you may have to find just the right one? Or is it something that's inherent to the ritual itself so that you don't maybe necessarily need ley line, you just need it to make things easier?
Depending on what works best for the game, I mean...
I'm working a more
could be
narrative
either.
angle here to get a sense of how does magic work in your version of this world.
Okay.
So you get a little authorship here in how things play out. And I'll try and keep that in mind for future reference.
I suppose my idea of it would be that most ley lines do have a certain bent in regards to which domain of magic they might lean towards. But in general, I feel like ley lines, their whole thing is they connect things. So that was sort of the connection I was making, you know. Connect
Okay.
the people, connect the ley lines.
No, that's solid magical thinking in a way. So I like how that
Solid
works.
logical thinking.
I said magical, but yes,
No,
I understand what you mean. So, so in this case, I'm going to ask you, well, first, the background that refers to ley lines. Can you just tell me about that real quick?
Yes. My character was struck by lightning while standing on a ley line, and instead of being killed, he was temporarily tied with the elemental plane of electricity, and that's what sort of gave him his sorceress abilities.
Okay.
From that point forward, he just sort of walked along the ley lines looking for stuff to do.
So for that moment, you stood on the door between worlds, and that's how you got your exposure. And that actually ties directly to what it is that you're trying to do right now. So I will give you a +1 to your check on this.
Okay. Do you want me to roll a check right now?
Well, I should say checks regarding this because we got a couple of steps here. First, you're going to have to identify a ley line that's appropriate to the task. So I want to check to see if you can find something like that nearby.
Okay. Do you want me to roll Arcane Guide?
Is that the background? No, you want to use the background that's associated with your ley line story.
That's the background.
Okay, well, that's it. Sure.
It came with my class, so I just sort of.
Yeah. Well, in this case, you become a guide between worlds, essentially.
Right.
So, okay, sure.
So what attribute do you want me to use?
Oh, we did forget attributes, didn't we? I was totally off on that. But let me just double check because I could swear. Yeah, relevant ability modifier. I apologize to everybody. I may have shorted you on earlier checks. I would call this wisdom because
Okay.
you're not searching your memory for something that you know. You're actually trying to intuit or perceive something that exists.
And does this use my? Because I know on the sheet it says modifier plus level. Does it just use my straight modifier, or does it include my level as well?
It's your ability modifier, and your level, and the number of points that you put in that background.
Okay, so I got a 10 plus 7, so that's 17.
All right. You can't plus the 1 because I'm giving you a bonus to things related to this ritual.
Right,
Okay.
I forgot that.
So you're definitely, as it would happen, and perhaps this is why it works so well, there's a ley line that runs through the village, but the properties of the ley line still remain a mystery to you.
Okay. Well.
All right. So the ley line becomes a component in your ritual. And I guess the question at this point is there anything else that we need to help make this work? So, or I should say, the ley line and the opal are elements in your ritual. Plus, you wanted the help of Heinrich and in performing this profane ceremony, and of Ember to help share the load on this. Do you think that that's enough?
I have a suggestion. Heinrich is a priest of the healing domain, and some of the tenets of the healing domain are about sharing recoveries and allowing, for example, like mechanically allowing recoveries to like use my recoveries instead, and things like that. So fluff-wise, like it seems like healing's all about like kind of sharing recoveries around at least like the ideals of the domain. So perhaps like being a priest of that like kind of works towards the ideals of what this ritual is about. It's kind of like drawing our recoveries together for a greater good.
And also, it's not just that; it's also strength. So that's enduring. That's long lasting. Strength is not just raw heavy lifting.
Right.
So that works out fairly well. And then also, you can probably use that to draw upon the superior constitution of Ember, should he allow himself to be used in such a way.
And he's familiar with rituals, too.
Yeah, I've been in this position a few times before, but as long as we don't make it a habit, I'll...
If it was a habit, it would be heresy, Ember. I think we'll be okay.
Maybe we should grab... Sorry.
No, I feel that we have a solid base here that we can proceed with the ritual.
Oh, okay, cool.
You guys have...
Is the ritual something we'll have to roll for? Because I have something that could make it slightly easier for us if...
Yes. Tell me what you got.
Could we possibly... I mean, I know all of us probably have some knowledge that could allow us to loot the wizard's house for just stuff like salt, glass, the sort of stuff that you use to build a really high-class ritual. You know, binding circles, that sort of stuff.
Yes. Everything that you need to reduce the difficulty of this ritual can be found there.
Yeah, alright. You guys want to go grab some loot?
Well, we're currently in his house, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we never left.
Yes. Yes, you're in the house. It's morning. You're probably discussing this over breakfast by raiding the wizard's pantry. All right. So, gathering components and getting ready to cast the ritual. Excuse me. Is going to take you a couple of hours to identify the most useful things and to build the ritual space. There's plenty of room in the open platform around town, so it's not like you have to actually go and clear space. This is going to take a skill check, and I'm going to call it an intelligence modifier for this one, because you have to think and reason your way through the steps that it's going to take. You need a magical background to make the check. Now, so that means that either Kenthis or Heinrich has to take the lead on this, but you will carry forward Kenthis's +1 for the ley line expertise. You'll get an additional +1 for Heinrich's narrative reasoning, and you'll carry forward a third +1 for the quality of the ritual components, because Revan stocks some top shelf stuff. And it was this is a literal spare no expense moment, and you'll still have a little left over to pocket for later if you want to.
I don't see why not.
And we'll get to how much of that you get to take away later. So, all right. However, so that's a total of a +3. You're going to use an intelligence modifier, and I'm going to say that this is a hard check, so you're shooting for 20. Who's going to make the check?
John, you're probably more intelligent than Heinrich.
I have +1 to intelligence, so it comes out to +5 with my level. So you might actually be more.
You are more intelligent than Heinrich.
Oh, okay.
Heinrich has an intelligence of 8, so you are more intelligent than Heinrich. He's a zealot, remember.
All right.
His blind faith.
Before we do the ritual, just in case anything goes wrong, I want to walk down to the grave and drop the little figurine on it. That's my little parting gift.
All right. So the tiny effigy that you carved, are there any special qualities to it, or is it simply a token of respect?
Pretty much just a token of respect. Yeah, nothing special about it.
Can I roll to aid at all? Since I do have a magical background? Or?
Yes, you can. Well, I'm already giving a straight plus off of that, but let me just make a real quick check, because I don't see any reason why you can't roll to aid 2.
Okay.
I just want to take a look and see how that's handled before I wing it. Well, of course, that would be backgrounds up front, wouldn't it? Good and bad thing about this book is that they put all the things that are different from other D&D style games right up front, so you see them before you get into the things that are the same. But then when you go and look for them, the feat chapter is not where the feat chapters would be in other books, and your skill chapter, which is your backgrounds, is also not in the same place that you would look. So it takes me just a moment to figure out that that was page 40. And I don't see any rule on assisting, so I would say that we'll just give it another +1.
Okay.
That might be overkill, because I think that you know what? We'll just give it the same +1 that you already were, because that pretty much represents your assisting. It literally was in regards to your expertise. So you get John. Kenthis gets 4 for the level, +1 for your intelligence, and plus another 3 for the factors that we discussed before. So that's going to be a total +8 to your check. So you need a 12 or better.
Can I get an additional +2 for my arcane guide skill? Background, I mean?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. So 10, so you need 10 or better. 55% chance of making this.
Here I go. Oh, 15, so we're good.
All right.
15.
So, for a little bit, it seems like nothing's happening. But then the mists start filtering in on the ground below you. And they slowly rise up to the level of the ritual space. And as the mists start billowing over the platform and start swirling around your ankle, it starts forming a vortex where it starts spinning around in the center of the ritual space. And then all of a sudden, you see footprints in the mist all over the village. And then people start walking out of thin air in the center of the ritual space, right in the center of the vortex. And all the elves that were on the other side of this magical curse just start emerging from the ethereal plane where they've been trapped. And that is how you have come to rescue the Ghosts of Aniel.
We still have to split the hit dice cost.
Yes, so because you're using the opal as part of the ritual, the hit dice cost for the gate ritual would have been 5 hit dice per recovery every time you spend a recovery until your next full heal up. So splitting that around, I would say, until the next full heal up, which is going to happen at the end of the session anyway, you would have reduced all of your recovery rolls by 2 dice. So you would have been only rolling 2 dice each instead of the full 4.
Alright.
Alright. So it's not quite dividing it evenly. It's a slight gain there, but I think 1 hit die each would have been too trivial. Alright. So, the people of Aniel thank you, and any reasonable equipment or aid that they may offer is yours to have, in addition to fame. You do recover, you do get to keep the eye. You do get to keep Galdir. You also obtain 2d4 uses of ritual components that will work for arcane or divine rituals. So one of you can roll to see how many uses that is. You won't be able to do anything on this scale again without wiping out the reserve. But if you're doing smaller rituals that affect a much smaller area or over a much shorter period of time, then 1 use per ritual sort of thing.
How about you hold on to those, John?
Alright. I will put that on my sheet. Does anyone want to roll?
Feel free.
Alright, here I go. I got 4 total.
Alright, that's average. That's good.
So I'll write that under, I guess it's not really a magic item though, so I'll write 4
No,
ritual
it's not.
uses.
While they can be used for magical purposes, they don't count as a magical item by themselves. So here's another thing that we get to do. We're going to call this a full heal up, so you're going to get all of your recoveries back. And you're going to get another incremental advance after this session, because this is going to be our transition point. But one of the things that we can do is we can award gold or loot every time that there's a heal up to just kind of represent the sort of things that you have been accumulating during your adventuring and the combats and all the other things that you managed to do so far. So these could represent gifts from grateful elves that you've rescued. It could be loot that you take off of people. It could be stuff you just tripped over when you were ruffling through people's houses and maybe they'll discover it gone later. And this is an alternative to just, the bookkeeping that comes with, we just had this huge combat, what do I find? One of the things we could do is we could say there's a certain amount of gold per level. But another thing we could do is we can do some optional loot where somebody rolls a d20 and that helps determine what it is that you get.
That works for me if you guys want to do that.
Yeah, I'm up for rolling.
You want to roll,
All right.
Bryant?
Sure.
Do it.
Okay,
10.
10. You
Right in the
get
middle.
one healing potion from the PC's tier. So you get an adventurer tier healing potion.
Nice.
It's a gift from the. Oh, look at that! I opened up right to it. This would normally cost you 50 gold pieces. And the effect is that you get to spend a recovery and add an additional 1d8 hit points to that.
Why don't we give that to the small sack of oatmeal over there that can cast spells?
That's probably a good idea.
All right.
Which of us is that?
That's you.
You.
Now,
Are you sure? Because I will totally give it to the small sack of oatmeal.
there is a cap to the number of hit points you can gain from this. You can gain no more than 30 hit points from this potion.
Sorry, what was that?
So you can gain no more than 30 hit points from this potion.
Okay.
All right. Other things that you could have gotten are potions of resistance. There are oils that confer temporary bonuses to hit and damage with weapons and with other and armor. Some weapons and armor may require recharging with oils as you go. You can also find runes, which can also apply, which work very similar to oils, and can apply other effects as well as the plus ones. And then after that, you run into true magic items, which are the sort of stuff we were discussing before, like the Galadier. All right. Now,
I guess that's the other question: is are you gonna be keeping? Is Heinrich gonna continue to carry Galadier, or?
I'm okay with holding on to it if you guys are okay with it. Somebody else is more than welcome to if they want to. It's up to y'all.
I do not want any part of that thing.
Okay.
Can I make a check to confirm an idea? Or
sure.
Because I took that web off the phase spiders, and since it's sort of connected with the world that the Galadier is, I'm wondering if I wrap the Galadier in the web, if it will not be quite so dangerous. Could I make an arcane guide check for that?
It only affects you when you channel your life force into it in order to activate one of those three powers.
Okay, well then never mind.
So, yeah, so you can use it for its true seeing ability anytime, no penalty. But
Okay.
after that, the ethereal jaunt, the summon phase spiders, the gate ritual, that stuff takes energy directly from you that you're not going to be able to regain until your next full heal up.
I would like to take the stone and just look at the villagers, make sure they're, I don't know, not...
I don't know,
I
Ember.
just wanna
Can we
confirm
trust
they're-
them?
They disappear again.
You're welcome to make that check. You're having visions.
The elves are elves. It's not like something else has snuck through, at least not that you see.
Alright.
Okay. So, this would technically be the end of the evening because we've hit the end of a major thing. This is the end of the one shot that was kind of our shakedown for 13th Age to see how some of the parts are different than other D&D. And from here on, we're going to be moving into the main portion of the actual Ravenloft expedition story. And we could move on to that in the half hour that we have left, but I feel that's going to leave us in a bad space. And rather than do that, I'd like to call it a little bit early, if that's okay with you guys.
Works for me.
I'm good with that.
At this point, what I will leave you with is that after the ritual, the mists do not dissipate. And though you attempt to wait it out, 1 day, 2 days, the mists never fully go away.
Continuing this trend of me collecting every slightly abnormal thing we come across, since we have so many spare bottles and beakers, can I see if it can go in a bottle, or is it just not capturable?
Well, it has a box.
Well, the mist is, in this case, particularly when you're using your arcane senses, you can bottle some of the mist. And whereas other mist might condense and maybe not be mist anymore, this actually just a little investment of will allows you to maintain the mist as it is, and you can preserve that component for a later time. Likewise, you can, with a small amount of effort, preserve some of that phase spider web to be used as a future spell component if there's something that you might want to use to augment using that component.
I would love to do that. Also, does anyone have anything that could be used for compression? Because the more smoke we get in there, the higher the likelihood is we can eventually use that as a smoke bomb.
I don't have anything
Which is
written
always
down
good.
useful.
I don't think that we have to go quite that far. Trust me,
Okay.
you're good. You're good with what you got. All right, so while we have a little bit of time left that we're not advancing the story, I guess what I'd like to do is ask if you guys have any comments that you don't mind making public about what you think about 13th Age so far, or about how we're handling certain elements of the story so far. And that's not only just good for me, because I'd like to know what you think and to carry that forward and make things better, but also we're all kind of approaching this as new players for 13th Age, which is a little bit different than standard D&D. And I think that one of the reasons why I like doing these broadcasts live is because it helps other people who are approaching it new like we are understand the system and understand what it is that they can do with it. So I will go in random order and say, John, do you have anything that you want to say first? And then we'll move on to Pierce, and we'll do Bryant last for once.
The thing that stands out to me most right now is I feel like in some of the D&D games, they tend to oversaturate with spells and abilities. And what I like about this is just as you level up, you just get a higher tier of the weapon. So instead of having to get like fire strike, fireball, fire beam, fire this, fire that, it's just one fire spell that upgrades. I like that.
And you don't feel that that's too restrictive narratively? I mean, it's just a fireball, but bigger or smaller.
Yeah, I mean, they have the basic types, cone, beam, explosion, but they're not trying to, like, pretend like there's more than there is, and I like that.
All right. Yeah, and I think that they make it fairly clear that we're encouraged, even just as players, to go in and make this stuff your own. So that's pretty good. Pierce, is there anything particular about the system or the game so far that stands out for you?
I'm still wrapping my head around some aspects of it, but I can definitely see the legacy of like 3E and 4E in it. A lot more 4E than 3E, but man, I can definitely see 3rd edition D&D in there too.
Yeah.
I think the one unique things are really interesting from a role-playing angle, and we haven't really touched on icons yet, so I really don't have an opinion there. But I think backgrounds are really cool, a really neat way to handle skills. And I got to agree with John on the spells. I think that it's a really neat way to deal with spells, and that the spells level up, not necessarily instead of having just like hundreds of spells in a spell list.
Yeah.
I like that the spells level up with you, or at least have the potential to. You have the potential to boost certain spells with feats and stuff like that. But all in all, I'm really impressed with it so far, and I really like, and I'm happy that we did this introductory adventure before just jumping into Ravenloft, or I think I would have been maybe a little overwhelmed. But
Ravenloft has a reputation for playing in hard mode.
right,
So, but you said that there's still some things that you're wrapping your mind around. Is there anything that you're having not that we necessarily need to answer it right now, but is there anything in particular that requires more adjustment, or that you think stands out as, geez, maybe I should be getting this, but there's that one, it hasn't quite clicked yet?
It's actually nothing in particular. It's more of it's more just kind of running into it and addressing it as I discover it, I guess. Because I flipped through the book and everything like that, but it's just, I don't know. It's kind of its own tome, I guess.
Yeah.
So discovering things and being like, oh, that's how they're dealing with it in this game, and then just relearning, and then relearning rules and with different names on them from different systems, and yeah.
I actually complained online when I first read through the book about how this doesn't seem to be written for new players and new DMs. It really relies, it seems to me to rely heavily on knowledge of 3rd and 4th edition. And I don't think of it as quite that as bad, but I'm not looking at it the same way as I used to. But definitely the answer came back, yeah, this is for experienced role players, this is for experienced DMs, and they don't really target that. So sometimes it takes a while, but once you start putting it in context, I think it comes a lot easier, So, Bryant, what are your impressions of the system in the game so far?
Well, the thing that I really like about, in addition to, so far I've been really liking, and that's one of the reasons I picked the fighter, is the flexible attacks of the fighter, where I make a roll, then I decide what I want to do. It's generally speaking, I test out a new system with a fighter, just to see how they work and see how they play, and I've been really interested in the flexibility of the fighter. Also, I really like Pierce was saying, the backgrounds and the icons and the various, and even the some of the, in the fighter's case, maneuvers choices, the skill the power choices, really lead towards depth of character and pulling more narrative out of the players. Certainly much more than something like 4th edition, which had very little in terms of in the book mechanics to pull players out of their heads and out of the numbers. A lot of 4th edition sessions I've been in have run into people just trying to figure out, it's like a Final Fantasy battle where it's just, okay, I'm going to pick this power or this
menu select.
Yeah, exactly. Just hack, and then, okay, what treasures does it spit out at the end? And with no or very little narrative being in the player's handbook for 4E, especially the last group I was in, there was a couple people that were just like, well, I use my arcane, or just when something came up, they would just say arcane check, and they would put no effort into saying, where that came from, what they were checking, or anything like that. And I think 13th Age does a good job of pulling that out of people with the backgrounds and whatnot.
I think 13th Age is very adept at promoting a particular style of running in a game. that promotes that. One of the things I kept hearing about 4th edition is that there's nothing there that prevents you from role-playing the way you did with previous editions. You
Right.
can always still do this and still do that, and you just reskin it. And all that is true. But something I didn't realize until I started playing 4th edition, and looking back on 3rd edition and other games that I've been picking up since, it's absolutely true. Even though role-playing is always an option, the rules tend to focus you on certain things. They lead you in a particular direction. And I find that when players put a lot of effort into going into finding all the little tricks that are hidden in the system and all the little optimizations, they expect that effort to pay off and they expect to make good use of those things. And so they're directing their imagination and their energy into the mechanics, and then they expect to play by the mechanics. Whereas here, the mechanics are there and they're familiar, but they're really all these other things, these little social hacks, direct the majority of your energy and your attention into the more narrative aspects of role playing, and so you don't invest yourself as much. And I guess I was afraid that, like with the fighter and flexible attacks, that it might feel too random for the player. Like I really don't have a choice as to when I get to use something because it's when it triggers off the die. But I guess it doesn't feel that way because you're investing your choices and your energy in the more narrative aspects of things, and so it doesn't matter so much that that part just feels a little random, at least to me.
See, well,
So,
with me,
uh,
I picked enough. I picked enough overlap that I think I have at least, no matter what the die roll, I have one or two choices. And I think that really I don't know, it seems more like less random and more flexible to me.
all right. That's why I asked the question, because my perception isn't always what everybody else's is, and so it's this one less thing that, okay, well, yeah, players don't mind. Now I know you don't mind. You know, one less thing
Right.
for me to think about. Yeah, what I like so far, apart from the social hacks, because I really like the one unique thing in background and what that
Mhm.
brings narrative to the game, especially if I leverage it. Okay, tell me a little bit more about that background, or let's do a flashback scene. Um, I like, from the DM's perspective, it is dead simple to build monsters. Uh, Fourth edition was really nice in that the math was supposed to be clear and simple, but they had that whole thing where they revised the monster math, and I never really found a really cohesive central area where I could go. And maybe it exists if you had the digital subscription, which I never did. There was really no like really easy place where you can go and look at a chart and say, okay, this level monster, this is what it is. The exception-based design I was totally down with, and 13th Age works exactly like that, except that you have these tables that just tell you everything right there. No guessing about the math. And it was been such a joy to convert stuff that didn't already exist in the manual that I was really, really enjoying that aspect of the game. And uh, as I'm really looking forward to the future combat, seeing that stuff come out and seeing how close to the mark that I got, and if I overshoot and cause you guys some real dire peril, I apologize. Um, but I've really been happy with how things have been going so far. So I want to thank you guys for playing tonight and giving this a chance. And in hopefully 2 weeks, we'll be back with our fourth player again, I hope, and we will get to the actual Ravenloft part. Don't forget your incremental advance, and if you have any questions, just shoot them to me in the community, and we will sort all of that out. All right, guys, have a good night.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.